My favorite passage happens to be the dedication to Karina, who I've loved since the day we met when we were existential teenagers. All of this is because of and for you.
This is how it goes in life. Sometimes you're born with a cleft palate or rickets, like my bow-legged granddaddy, or a touch short on brains, like my great-aunt Cal, who everyone called Stool. Me? I'm a double hitter. In addition to being what folks call large-boned, I came into this world with homosexual tendencies. Though back then I thought of it as only my strange, strong affections for some female friends, having no such notion of homosexual tendencies as a thing, at least not in my hometown of Midland, Texas.
Imperial State Prison Farm was situated in the city of Sugar Land, Texas, home to Imperial Sugar. Sugar Land sat all the way down near Houston, or what we in Midland called the armpit of Texas.
My resolve not to love Rhodey lasted all of 2 days.
Half-digested bullfrog rose up in the back of my throat.
We kissed again, then she nudged me off. With a serious face, she asked, "Really now, why did you ever want to lock yourself away in some prison? Adventure." Rhodey made that puff sound with her mouth that told me I was full of it. Adventure, she repeated. You know, there's plenty of adventure outside penitentiary life. I reached up over my head, pulled a blade of grass, and started chewing on it. Like what? In answer, she took my free hand, put it under her striped sweater, and then under her bra, and said, like this.
Life as a sheriff treated Earl pretty well. His loudmouth wife wore a real raccoon coat, they owned a car, and Daddy said they kept decent drink. Earl enjoyed good things. I knew he kept a plate of fancy goodies on his desk, so I decided to stop in for a treat to help improve my mood.
When I told Beauregard my thoughts, he fiddled with his mustache and turned in the bright kitchen to look right at me. "Maybe his gift is why he should stay," he said. "Maybe he's here to give those men a glimpse of genius and proof of God, something every one of them could use. Besides, his plan in here is surely lifting up the Negroes. Watch the way they walk in here now, with considerably more strut." Beauregard leaned across the counter. "Music like that is made in traps. This prison is making those songs." Darl wonders, maybe music is made here, but if it doesn't get out, it'll surely die here. Beauregard turned back to wiping down his station. "You seem to know a little bit about how music lives and dies. You play?" "No," I said, turning on the water, "but I know a thing or two about being trapped."
Made me think of Beauregard. I bet he did a great twist.
When he reached me, he raised his hand in front of my bars and turned it over to the pink and whites of his palms to show me the bright red pads of his fingertips, whispering, "Calluses are coming," as if he was talking about a train filled with gold.
Huddy didn't know what I'd done in a different small Texas town a few years earlier. He didn't know how I'd kissed Rhodey and moved my hands up the sides of her thin dress, the dress she said she wore for me, along with her butterfly scarf. He didn't know how we waited until her parents and her brother went to New Mexico, and then we spent the night together in her room, a night with thunderstorms and lightning that lit up our bodies in the dark. He didn't know how grateful we were that the thunder covered the sounds we made that night from any folks walking by, that patch of freckles on the back of her knee.
To be great at poker, you have to lie with your entire body.
Walking off, I forced myself to think about pie rather than think about the head cook.
Even though I had skinned more fish than were mentioned in the Bible, there was something about cutting open a penis that made my stomach flip.
The way I see it, Huddy reached inside and found his gift, and he used to make his life a lot better than it could have been. And given how strong the winds were pushing back, moving even a few feet is a miracle. Any sailor will tell you that.
I offered up my rosary as a prayer to the Almighty that the warden's girls would not walk up to me and proceed to make derogatory comments about my rectangular stature or my big feet or my closely short hairdo in front of the warden.
My right foot required extra glue and extra drying time. As the warden stood there in his iron blue shirt with flowers all around him and a roast in the oven, all I could think about was that I had no idea what I was going to do with his penis.
Of course. I knew the overalls. His penis goes into my Venus flytrap, bumps around a bit, explodes, and then goes back to sleep.
He was a man who knew how to love. Not just fall in love, but really love, even after something isn't new anymore.
That this baby came from me has to be kept a secret. I cringed, knowing that secrets have a way of working themselves out of tight spots, of popping up somewhere where the dirt is softer.
I looked over at her and I understood that she was stuck in a place that would never support her being what she could be. Some style-minded woman in a big city somewhere with places to go. Her life would always be too small.
That girl leaks more than a wooden bucket of termites.
Jen, don't kill.
Thank you for caring for my beautiful little pugs. We ought to get them in now, though, since the heat can flare up their anal glands.
They get the kind of gas that can peel your paint off. Truly.
Just as one of those wretched dogs tore my coveralls off at the upper thigh, exposing years of neglected upper thigh grooming, Miss Jimmy James raced around the bushes in her nightgown, armed with a can of insect spray. At least that's what it tasted like when she started shooting it in my face.
As I turned my head to answer, I realized that I was lying in the exact location the Rottweilers visited every evening to relieve themselves of what clearly must be high-fiber meals.
I pinched the place where my body actually started and imagined slicing off the excess with a pair of scissors.
Listen, I told myself, if women could wear dresses that looked like boxes and pants that used to be quilts, I could wear my Watch Them Beans t-shirt.
Go run to the store and get me more corn nuts. The barbecue kind.
I should have told her that, despite preferring the company of women, I didn't live a false life with her daddy. It was just like having hamburger when you want steak.
There on the dance floor, when I looked into her eyes, I realized it didn't matter who led the dance, as long as there was one.
Somewhere deep inside of me must live a small pond of bravery, because in that moment, I got nourishment from it.
And during the entire ride to town, the beautiful Mrs. Tanya Mae Rogerson's hand burned a mark on my thigh, the same way holy water marks the possessed, deep, hot, and permanent.
No life is easy, and no life is hard. It's just what adjectives you choose to use to describe it.
Sugar